Hi everyone, this is Scott. I'm currently editing the video, so before this video starts, I just want to apologize for the banging and clanging that you might hear throughout the video. It shouldn't be too distracting, but we did not put a pad under the microphone for this episode, and so whenever we set anything on the table, it does reverberate into the microphone. So apologies ahead of time. We will do better next time. Thanks. Hi, everybody.
Hi, everybody.
I'm Scott.
I'm John.
We're married. And this is the SweetTeaNoShade, knitting podcast.
Happy 2025.
Happy 2025. We are knitters.
Mm-hmm.
I am SweetTeaNoShade on Ravelry and Instagram.
And I am ILoveYouIKnow on ILoveYouIKnow on Ravelry, John Asbury on Instagram. It's been a minute.
Yes, so I think it's been 3 months since our last episode. I think it was October.
Sure.
So we always have aspirations to do one every 2 weeks, and we do one about once every 3 months.
Right. I feel like that's,
we do the best we can.
Right. We've had a very busy fall though too.
Well, I've been very sick in 2024. Nothing debilitating or permanent, but I've had a lot of weird illnesses, and I blame it on getting old. But since our last episode, I have discovered that I have bone spurs and arthritis in my neck vertebrae, and it cut off the nerve to my... It didn't cut off. It pinched the nerve to my shoulder, back, and arm, and so I was in a lot of pain for a long time, and...
but you're getting better.
Thanks to physical therapy and all that good stuff, I'm doing much better.
What are you drinking?
And it made me not want to even knit either.
Yeah.
So that's partly like I had nothing to show because I was just in pain and didn't feel like knitting. The other thing is that you all have Cheryl to thank for this episode.
You do.
Because John and I were at the Yarnery in... It's still in St. Paul, but it's moved to a different part of St. Paul, Minnesota. And it's actually moved much closer to us.
Yes.
And their new space is absolutely beautiful. And she recognized us at the Yarnery when we were there shopping on New Year's Day, was it?
I think
New Year's Day or the day after New Year's Day?
It was the day after because they weren't open on New Year's Day.
Oh, that's right. And we weren't open on New Year's Day either. We were a little hungover.
Yeah, no, it's not gonna.
But anyway, it was wonderful to talk to her, and she kind of motivated me to talk to you about doing a new episode.
Yep.
Another episode. So thank you to Cheryl.
And we have stuff to talk about too.
And we have lots of stuff to talk about. I have reacquired thanks to Betty Ann, the enabler.
She's a pusher. She pushes people.
She's a life ruiner. She remotivated me also with a new project that we're going to talk about. That she's also going to do, which she's switched mainly to cross stitch. We'll see if she follows through. We might have to fly down there once a month to get her going again.
And just lock her in a room so she gets it done.
Yeah. Anyway, we'll talk about that project. So our podcast these days, for probably a couple of years now, has been knitting and movie reviews.
Yeah.
So we start with knitting, we then move to movie reviews. And so that'll be the same for this episode.
Mm-hmm.
And then, John, what are you drinking?
I'm drinking... So, the movies you're reviewing are the best and worst films of 1983. And to watch the worst movie, which is The Lonely Lady, which is a bad movie. Some
might say the worst movie of 1983.
Some might say, with the worst performance of 1983 by a female actress in a lead. But we'll talk about that later. We had a early 80s drinking party, and we made fuzzy...
We did?
Yeah.
That's right. I forgot.
It's been so long.
Yeah.
And so we had some friends over. We made fuzzy navels, and I am drinking Sutter Home, the original white Zin with an ice cube.
I don't think that's true. Behringer, I think, was the original white Zenfit.
No, if you look on the...
Oh, does it say the original?
I mean, who knows if there's... On the label to Sutter's Home, it says the original.
Because similar grocery store label wine
Uh-huh.
was Behringer, and my family, my mom, Betty Ann, always drank Behringer White Zinfandel.
Okay.
My dad also liked it.
Yeah.
And actually, the first time I ever got a buzz was when I was like 17 or 18 at Thanksgiving with my dad at his parents' house, and I had like 2 glasses of White Zinfandel.
So we're going to talk about family culture right now. So that is when Scott got his first buzz.
With my father and grandparents.
Yeah, my first buzz was my parents made sangria. And they put fruit in it, and I kept eating the fruit.
How old were you?
I was probably like 16 or something.
Like 8?
No. I was. But yeah, like they had sangria, and I just kept taking the apple slices out and drinking and eating them. I wasn't drinking sangria.
Did your parents know that you were eating the fruit?
No. It was so yummy. Because I always thought wine tasted gross. I remember, like, when I was a little kid, I, like, snuck some, like, red wine. I'm like, this is disgusting.
Yeah.
Much like beer. And I still feel that way.
You don't think beer tastes...
No, I'm joking. I'm joking.
Okay.
But yeah, like, when you put sugar in it, and then you put fruit in it, and then you eat the apple slices. So I just remember, like, just like going by and picking them up and eating. It was like a big party no one noticed, right?
Well, continuing the discussion of...
what are you drinking?
Family culture.
Is that sweet tea?
I'll get to that in a minute. My dad puts vodka in his sangria. But you know that.
Yeah.
Is that normal?
It's a version.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
He puts green tea and vodka in his white wine sangria.
Oh, the green tea would be good, actually. It would give it a little more...
His sangria is...
Yeah, we've had it.
Next level, yeah. Yes, this is sweet tea in my...
Dickie's Solo Cup?
Dickie's barbecue cup, which is like my favorite cup to drink out of.
Yeah.
It's just a big plastic tumbler, but it's like my favorite thing to drink out of.
What do we have?
Okay, we have... I just have a bunch of like new cast-ons.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have any finished objects.
No,
and I have the acquisition for one of the big projects.
Yeah, I have 2 works in progress. Well, I have 3 works in progress, but one of them I've not done any work on since the last podcast, so we'll just sort of put that to the side. Yeah, 2 whips, and then our...
Big project?
Our acquisition project.
Okay. You got some other acquisitions that were gifts from someone. Birthday gifts from someone. It's come 2 months in a row now.
Yes.
Did you get those?
I did. I don't have them with me.
Well, I know. Are they down here to show?
No.
Would you go get them, please?
Where are they? You back on track?
It's like Betty Ann has spidey sense, and she knows when we're recording an episode, and then she starts like bombing my phone with texts.
To be fair, she's always asks, are you recording episodes like every 5 minutes, so she can't,
true.
you know.
That's true.
All right.
Are you recording an episode? People want an episode, Scott. Okay, anyway. Yeah, so, should we talk about the big project first?
Yes, let's do that. That'll be fun. So we're going to go a little out of order. This is acquisitions and works in progress.
Yeah, so the reason that I kind of got my knitting excitement back is because Betty Ann found this project. It's the Berroco year-long mystery blanket knit-along.
Yep.
You get patterns every month, and then at the end you seam them all together.
Yeah. So it's a square every month.
What did I say?
You get patterns.
It's a block.
Yeah.
And then it's 20 blocks, 4x5.
There's 2 in January.
Let's not manually count them up.
Yeah.
Hang on, let me pull up the pattern.
Okay.
Okay, so it's 20 12 inch by 12 inch squares. Now, my first square, and all my squares are going to be somewhere around 10.5 inches.
Mm-hmm.
Because that was my gauge, and I didn't really feel like
swatching for
Well,
everyone.
I shouldn't say that because I haven't blocked them yet. So I might be able to block it to 12 by 12.
Well, I think the difference, all you do is block them to the same size.
Right.
So
I shouldn't say mine are going to be 10.5 inches because that's what it is. That's what the first block was.
Right.
Measuring it imprecisely, not blocked.
Right.
So it's called the Berroco Mystery Blanket Knit Along. You can sign up at Berroco.com, and we'll have a link in the description. So on January 2nd, we must have gone on January 1st to get our yarn, because on January 2nd is when we got the first pattern. Anyway, it doesn't matter. The first pattern came out on January 2nd. The first 2 blocks. The pattern for the first 2 blocks came out. So John and I went to the yarnery. And one thing that's really cool about this is they seem to encourage people to go to their local yarn store and buy the yarn.
Yeah. Which we did.
We went to the yarnery, and we found out from Scott, the owner of the yarnery, that they are running at so there were like 8,000 people at this point that have signed up.
Right.
There was 7,100 when we talked to him, but I've seen 8,000 people have signed up for this knit along. And so people were running out, or Berroco was running out of certain colors.
Right.
Luckily, Yarnery had a huge stock of Berroco, and it's Berroco vintage specifically, which is that a DK?
No, is it? Yes, it's a DK.
Okay. So, what was my point with that?
So, like, if you want to get... So, like, the way it works is you get 6 colors.
Oh, 5.
5 colors. And one of them is six hanks, right? And that's the light color, the light base color. And what their Berroco has literally, if it's not in the stores right now, they are working to catch up with at their mill for the light colors.
For the neutrals.
For the neutrals, right.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's 5 colors. It's 6 skeins of color 1, 4 skeins of color 2, 3 skeins for color 3 and 4 each, and then 2 skeins for color 5. Yeah. So John and I picked our yarn. I'll insert... Well, we'll show them, too. Yeah. I can insert pictures of all the yarn together that we picked. But do you want to go first?
Sure.
And then when I show my yarn, I'll show the finished block that I have.
All right. So this is my base neutral. The one that I got.
Color 1.
Color 1.
Which is like the most...
I think
6 skeins.
This is color 2.
That's correct. That's the second most used yarn.
Is it the blue or the red?
The red and the light blue.
Red. This is color 3.
And I don't know that they can see those actually.
Okay, well,
so there you go.
Okay. 4.
Mm-hmm.
And then 5. This is the 5th color.
Yes.
And so what I did is I went to... I'll sort of do it like this, you can see them all together. Is they had a big wall of Berroco vintage. And this was the color I got first, which is called Dungaree. And I knew I wanted to use this color. And so we sort of built off this to find colors that went with it. So this is Misty. This is Shauna Dye.
Okay.
I don't understand that. This is...
Oh, Chana Dal.
Oh, Chana Dal. Okay.
Bengal Gram Dal. It's a lentil-based...
What's 5173?
They've only recently started, according to the people at Yarn, they just started putting colors on.
Okay, so 5173. Red pepper. And this is Rye.
Rye, that's right.
R-Y-E. So, these are going to be this is the color story for my blanket. And thank you to the Yarnery. Everyone there was super helpful. I forget the person who helped us, but they went above and beyond. Like,
oh yeah, she
was like, oh,
she kept it all straight in her head. I mean, she did write things down, but she kept it all straight as to, oh, this is color 1 and this is color 4, and like we have this, but we don't have that.
Right. So we switched it out because I was going to do a different base color. We only had 5 of it, and I'm like, I'd rather just get it all right now, so we just switched to a different color.
Yeah, because you originally had mushroom, but they didn't have enough. They didn't have 6 skeins of mushroom.
Yeah.
Well,
and then she got the same dye lots for everything. I mean, it was...
that was the other thing is, like, there were 2 skeins of every color on the wall. But what she did was she put those back on the wall and then went downstairs and got... When we had multiple skeins we needed, she got all from the same dye lot. Like, she went out of her way to do that.
Yeah, it was great.
She was really great.
Yeah. They're a very... I've always really liked that store. They're really great. You know, like all yarn stores, anyone from Yarn Star loves yarn. I mean, I would... If you didn't, it'd be a tough job.
Well, and we didn't know that... It was like there was some sale going on that day.
Yeah.
We just went to buy the yarn for the...
Right, so it ended up being pretty, I think, relatively inexpensive.
Yeah, and I had my team at work had bought me a gift certificate a couple of years ago that I had not used yet, so that was like half the cost was covered by that gift certificate. So
yeah, I am very excited. I've not started mine yet because I'm still finishing up a different project, which you'll see in a minute. But
I have started.
Well,
so now I get to show.
That's good for you.
It is good for me. Okay, so let's look at mine. So my color number 1 is this. I got to put my glasses on, which is Mochi. And I wanted to do neutrals with a pop of... I wanted to do more conservative colors just because that's... I don't know, that's just me.
You didn't want to Steven West it.
I didn't still want to Steven West it. I'm not big for neon colors and stuff like that when it comes to blankets.
Yeah.
My second color number 2, is this one, which is nylon. Nope.
What is vintage made of?
Okay, 52% acrylic, 40% wool, 8% nylon.
Which is good because it makes it strong, and I would actually feel...
And it's machine washable.
Yeah. Which is great for a blanket because we have a lot of entities in our house that tend to...
Oh, and it's made in Peru. I didn't know that.
Yeah, that tend to throw up on things. Present company excluded.
And get super...
And shed.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to say.
So
this is smoke.
Smoke. That's pretty. I like that. I like that gray.
This is color 3, which is ruby. This is color 4, which is cracked pepper.
Ooh.
And then there's a couple of our colors that kind of are similar.
Yeah.
Here's color 5, which is indigo.
Indigo. And that's kind of close to the dungaree.
Yeah.
But...
So that's my color story.
So wait, let's see. I want to see. Can we put these side by side? I'm just curious to see like how...
Because your color 5 and my color 5 and my color 3 and your color 3
are
similar.
Similar, but those are
But the other ones are different.
Yeah. So I think it'll be fun. I mean, we live in Minnesota and we watch a lot of... We're on the couch a bit, especially in the winter.
In the winter, yeah.
So blankets are a good thing.
Nestled in our cozy, warm basement where we are right now. With the heater in the full house heater going and the basement heater going. All right, so...
It's very cold today in Minnesota.
It was -1 Fahrenheit when we woke up, which is like -1,000,000 Celsius. So, okay, so...
Oh, that's right. So you've got a...
Yeah, so this is the pattern. The pattern is free. Yeah, I didn't pay anything to sign up, so I'm not worried about showing anything. So
right.
So what we did was we printed out. This is 1st January, and they do a really good job with the pattern. I didn't really see anything about a designer, but here it is. The first block was designed by Jan Hurwitz.
Okay.
And block 2 is designed by Osa. I'm saying Osa because it's the A with the circle over it, which at least in Norwegian is pronounced O. I don't know about Swedish.
Yeah.
Osa Bukta.
Sure.
And so the first one is a pretty... Well, I'll talk about it in a minute, but I wanted to talk about the pattern. So the pattern is done really, really well. It has both... written instructions. It has a picture, and it has both written instructions and it has a chart.
And it also has these little QR codes.
Oh, right. I forgot about that.
Which I
they
think
have videos.
That go to videos and talk to you about
videos.
it. So it's really...
So like this one says, learn how to knit from charts.
Yeah.
And I'm a big lover of charts.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So, and then there's hashtags and stuff. Oh, I'm not using the right hashtag. I was looking for the right hashtag. It's hashtag vintage MCal25. I was using some other hashtag, so I'll have to fix that. Yeah. I forgot what I was going to say. Each block has its own gauge. It uses... it recommends 4.5 millimeter needles for the small needle and 5 millimeters for the larger needles. So for American sizes 7 and 8.
Yeah.
And yeah, so then, oops, I'm getting out of place here. So I'm on block 2, and so I've got my little sheet protector here. And then I've discovered that the best thing ever, I'm sure many other knitters know this, is to put your tape on the sheet protector rather than on the pattern. So it doesn't rip the ink off of the pattern. So that's going really well.
Do you have a square done?
I do have a square done, thank you. I was like, what's next? Okay, so here is block number 1. And I don't know, I don't know what is the right side and what is the wrong side.
I think it doesn't matter.
No, I know it doesn't, but it's kind of like, I think that's the cast. I think the bottom is the cast. No. That's
top,
right. Okay.
The top is the cast.
I wonder if I should. The top is the. So this is the. I'm looking at the right side. Okay, so this is the the audience is now looking at the right side, and the bottom is the cast on, and the top is the cast off. I used, what's her name? Very Pink Knits, easy. Like simple stretchy cast off, and it's like, Jesus Lord, it's the stretchiest cast off I've ever done. And this is I think it's called the German twisted cast on.
Yeah, which is pretty stretchy too.
Which is very stretchy too. It's my new favorite cast on for everything. But so it's very stretchy. But what was my point about that? I can't remember. But this is the first one. And then I've started the second one. And the second one, and it's just knits and purls. And then this one is also just knits and purls, but it creates, and I'm gonna be in the light. Okay, so this is you can't really, you can kind of tell, but it's okay. What am I use your word, Scott? It's knits and purls, and it's going to create kind of an overlapping double diamond pattern. You really can't tell from just the few rows that I've got.
Right.
But, yeah, that's what it's going to be. And then you can see the knits and purls from the... Okay, you can move the red one.
Okay.
And this is the knits and purls from block 1. And it's not blocked or anything, so it's a little messy, but it'll turn out good. Yeah. All right, so... let's keep that out. Let's keep doing that. I like that a lot better.
Okay.
So, yeah, so that's my 2 blocks. And so Betty Ann, literally as we started to record this episode, Betty Ann got her yarn delivered. She picked one of the I think she picked one of the preset kits and she doesn't really have a local yarn store, so she saw on one of the discussion boards about this project there was a
yarn
store in like Maryland or something where they had a lot of Berroco, and she ordered hers from them.
Right.
So yeah, I'm very excited. This took me, I cast on this past Thursday. I didn't knit on it on Friday, and then Saturday I finished it.
Yep.
So I mean it didn't take me long at all to get this one done. And then the other one, I haven't been knitting as quickly as on it. It's going to take longer because you have to follow this chart, and it's knits and purls, and
it's not as easy to read.
Not, this one I'm like I repeated the pattern once, I had it memorized, and so I just did it. And you can read it. You can read the knitting very easily, so you know where you're at. This not so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm excited to to get a new block every month. So February, I think, only has one. Oh, wait, it's in here. I think February only has one block.
Right.
And I think also Betty Ann told me, or I read, that it gets harder. They get more challenging each.
Right.
Each, what am I trying to say? Each month.
Yep.
So, like, the first... February is striped using all the colors. Then you get to texture, intarsia, lace, cables, mosaic, stranded, and then cable lace for November. And then December is the border and finishing.
Yeah.
So, cool. Very fun.
Very fun. So, yeah. Hopefully... Maybe the fact that we're doing this every month will at least get us podcasting every month.
That's true.
So
we should do that every year. Like do a
year long, just to keep our
keep us going.
Our motivation.
Yeah.
So you have I've got 2 works in progress now. What do you have?
2 works in progress.
Okay. I'll go ahead and do mine.
Okay.
Next. So this is a hat I've been working on. I put it down to go my other work from project, but basically it is a hat that I'm sort of adapting my own pattern from to. It is, oh gosh, I bought this at Elevation Yarn and Company, which is a yarn store in Littleton that has since closed down, which makes me very sad. And the colorway, but I think the dyer is still dying. So, we have a link to it in our last video, I know.
So we'll have, I update the...
Yeah. And so this colorway, he names all of his colorways after musicals, and this is the
what you trying to do?
So what's the type of yarn?
The base...
is Rent.
No, the base is Mimi. Oh, no, that's the... Yeah, no, I don't know what the base is. It was for a local yarn store day last year. Whatever, it's Rent Mimi, and
right.
It's worsted.
So anyway, what I'm doing is this is just a hat design, and I did a folded over brim, and then I'm doing a pattern where basically it's cables, and the guidance is really just cable when you feel like it. So, it should be cool.
Yeah.
I like it. So yeah, so here is, you basically do a 2x2 thing, a cast on, 2x2 rib cast on, and that leaves you with, and then basically what you do is you cross over the 2x2 cable wherever you sort of feel like it. So...
There's cat hair. Oh my god, there's cat hair.
Oh, well, there's cat hair everywhere.
I can't get it.
So yeah, it just makes a really kind of fun pattern that's very organic, might be the right word. So yeah, and
chaotic.
And it's based off, oh gosh, it's a designer who I did one of her cowls, and her whole thing was just kind of mindful knitting where you don't go by a pattern, but you sort of make it up as it feels right. Very fun. I feel like I'm almost the decreases, but I'm not sure. I'm going to figure that out. So.
Yeah, I always forget hats are relatively... There's not a lot of body. You know, I always expect it to be like, oh, I feel like you just got started. You know?
Right. No, and so like if we do like this,
yeah,
especially with the thing, I think it's almost time. I think it's time to decrease.
Yeah.
So anyway, and yeah, I think we'll be good. So anyway, it's been a fun project. I'm just curious to see what it turns out to and whether it fits, because I just sort of made up this pattern.
Yeah.
Which is fun.
Something I could never do.
That's okay. We're different people. That's why you cook. That's why I cook and you bake.
That's true. All right. So then the next thing I'll talk about is every year I have this bright idea that I'm going to knit ornaments for everybody that I know, including all the people on my team. And then I've gotten it done a few years, but Sorry, I lost my train of thought there. I've gotten it done a few years, but this year was not one of them.
Right.
Part of it was I had saved it up until the last minute, and then I got really sick.
Mm-hmm.
One of my many illnesses this year, and so it was just a cold, but it was pretty bad cold, right. And I didn't feel like doing anything. So I'm going to continue doing them, but then they'll be ready for next year. What I'm knitting are these little ornaments. They're little stockings, and I'm doing one for each of my team members, and I'm going to put the initial of their first name in gold. And then what is that called?
Overlay knitting?
Overstitching?
Overstitching, yeah.
Oh, so I haven't done that before, but I'm going to do that. And I have 9 people that report to me on my team, and I've gotten 2.5 done. So that tells you how my plans went. But this pattern is from the Holiday Charm set by Susan B. Anderson with Barrett Wool Company. This was from, I don't know what year this was from. This was from a few years ago. I've knit everything in this pattern, or in this collection. She did these. She did sweaters. They're all ornaments. She did these. She did sweaters, little tiny sweaters, a set of mittens, and then little Christmas trees. And I've knit all of them. When you were decorating our tree, did you see?
Yeah, put the mittens
the
up.
little Christmas trees.
No.
I wonder if I gave those. I might have given those away.
Yeah.
The Christmas trees are super cute because you do little French knots for the ornaments. But what was my point? Oh, so I'm doing, and I modified her pattern. Her pattern calls for like stripes, and I think that's the only thing I modified is I'm doing the white and then the solid colors. But one of the problems that I keep having, and I do this when I do regular socks, is it's got a heel flap gusset construction for the heel, and what I always do is I knit the heel flap, then I do the heel turn, and then when I go to pick up the gusset stitches, I end up continuing to use the contrast color, and it ends up with putting stripes of the heel color
right
where I'm picking up the stitches and then across when you knit across the foot of the top of the foot. And so one of these, I actually was proud of myself. I pulled it back and picked up the stitches from the bottom of the heel turn. Yep. So you can see there's one little rogue stitch right there. But that's okay. I don't care. I don't know what yarn this is. I keep a bag full of red, white, green, gold, silver, like just Christmas colors that I grab from whenever I'm knitting Christmas stuff. So I have no idea what yarn this is. I think the white is, there was a woman, I don't know who she was. I don't remember who she was, and I don't know if she's still doing this, but she would, I forget what it's called, where it's like you reclaim yarn. She would... Oh,
undo a sweater or something like that?
She'd undo a sweater. She'd go to Goodwill, undo a sweater, and then bleach it. Or I don't know what she did to it, but like this was yarn that she reclaimed. Yeah. I will say it does make the yarn pretty fragile. Or it's very easy to tear, or whatever the word is. But for something like this...
That you're not going to put on your foot.
Right, exactly.
Right.
So,
unless your feet are very tiny.
Right. So this is called Little Stocking, which is part of the Holiday Charm set by Susan B. Anderson. So that's something that I'm going to continue to do and get all 9 done. And then I'm not going to put the letters on until close to Christmas, because my team, I might have some turnover. I'm hoping I won't, but you never know.
Right.
So, there's my scissors. I always find interesting things in my bags here. Oh, the gold is going to be from that... Is this Elevation?
Yeah, yeah.
The gold is going to be... Gypsy is the musical. Oh, you know what? I bet Mimi was the colorway. That's just the reference to what musical it's from.
Gotcha.
So this is the Gypsy Rose Lee coloring way on their fingering base.
Gotcha.
From Elevation Yarn Company.
Right.
And so you probably bought this, but I stole it.
That's okay.
But I'm not going to use very much because it's just for overlaying the colors.
So here's the deal. With the size of our yarn stash, please steal yarn that I bought.
I know, right?
It's I don't know if anyone else has this problem, but it's a little out of control.
Yeah, I'm sure no one else has that problem.
Right.
I will say that today we were... every so often, if I get kind of in a rut or depressed or anxious or whatever, I find that I can snap out of a little bit if I rearrange a room or do something. Mm-hmm. So remember that time that I was feeling really anxious and I made us start sleeping on opposite sides of the bed? That was in our old house. And it was like, it cured my anxiety. I don't know why. So...
I don't remember that at all, but that's okay.
Yeah, I remember that because I was like, every once in a while I'm like, should I make John switch sides of the bed? And then I'm like, no, because I like my bedside table better than your bedside table.
Right, so, right.
And your bedside table won't fit on my side of the bed. Anyway, I rearranged my home office yesterday. And I needed... a place to put our printer. It doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. But there was a shelf that we had all of our knitting books and then our knitting umbrella stand, whatever that's called, and then the ball winder on all connected to this shelf. And so we decided to move all that into the actual yarn room / spare bedroom. And I started moving all of our books, knitting books. And I'm like, there are probably 1,000 exciting patterns to do in these books.
Oh yeah.
Like there's a book we have of nothing but top-down sweaters that look super fun.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And I'm just like, okay, Scott. So I think I'm never going to buy any yarn or patterns again.
Yeah, that's definitely going to happen.
I'm glad
we're saving up for retirement.
That is true. That is true. I support... We are supporting our friends in the dyeing and in the fiber community.
Big yarn.
No, we're not supporting big yarn.
Little yarn.
We're supporting little yarn.
Yarn with a small y.
Yeah. So it's your turn now.
All right. So this is the project that has taken over my life. In a really good way. So this is a baby blanket. My cousin, Thomas Patrick, he and his wife Courtney had a baby in September. I can't. He's 5 months old right now, I think. So he was really little when I went to go see him. Anyway,
I have no idea how old Callum is.
Nor do I. Sorry, Courtney, and Thomas Patrick. But he's a little tiny baby. So
you need to take a picture of that. Our precious baby dog. So we'll insert a picture of what our dog is doing right now while we're podcasting.
So she had the baby, and I'm like, I want to do a baby blanket for him. And so I found this pattern. It's the Nebula baby blanket by Jake Kenyon, who used to be Kenyon, right?
We had that whole rabbit hole where because you know how I am with names and getting them wrong. Keep talking and I'll figure it out.
No, they can just refer to our last podcast.
Keep going. Venus and the Crab.
And so he did a collaboration with Lion Brand Yarns for this really great baby blanket. And I really like his yarn. He's a really good dyer, but I think he's doing more of the pattern collaboration stuff. And it's called the Nebula Baby Blanket. And it is going to be enormous. I'm going to pull out a side. So it basically is a series. Basically,
this is so cool.
I know.
I haven't seen it since you're almost done with it.
Yeah. So it's gonna
That is so cool. I love the feel of it and the drapiness of it and the thickness of it for a baby blanket. Yeah.
So I really like it, and the two colors were custom order were sort of custom picked out
for this
thing,
right?
Yeah. So they were Lion Brand. This is black something. Sorry.
I think the colorways are in our show notes.
Colorway is Night Sky, which I assume is this one, but
black one,
and the other one is Pastel Print.
Yeah.
And yeah, so the cool thing about this is basically you do a decrease or increase depending on where you're in the blanket every 2 rows, and it just makes it's going to make this huge square. And then the way the pattern works is you have a purl ridge right here, so it's got texture. So
so cool.
I am very excited about it.
So is it 2 rows of knit and then a row of purl?
It is knit. So it's a free
2 rows of knit and 2 rows of purl.
No, it is 3 rows of knit, 1 row of purl.
Oh, 2 rows of the Nebula, 1 row of the night sky, and then 1 row of the...
So you do 2 rows of... You do 2 rows knit of the black, right? And that gets you the purl ridge.
Oh, because it's knit flat.
Knit flat. And then you do a row of knit and knit of purl that gives you that flat with the other one.
Gotcha.
And I just think, like, I would never have picked these colors together. And I just love the way I look. I love the way it feels. And so I have this much left. So definitely getting close to finishing.
You have a fun drop stitch.
Where?
To make it homemade, right there.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, sorry, it's not dropped. It had been dropped in the past.
It's mosaic. Like. It's a little bit of mosaic knitting.
1 stitch of mosaic knitting.
Yeah, it's definitely homemade.
Well, no, but you got to have one thing to make sure it's not. What is it they say? Because if it's perfect,
the angel will take it from you.
The angel will take it from you.
Yeah. So, this is going to be. So we went to go see them.
Okay, I might have to do this baby blanket for Tatiana.
Yeah, what I would recommend is do it in a chunky yarn. So this is...
Or like a DK.
Yeah, a DK.
Something bigger.
Something bigger, because
this is fingering, isn't it?
I think so.
Yeah.
Lion Brand.
It's not gonna... I don't think it's gonna say fingering. It's gonna do that thing where it says it's a number.
Yeah.
So it's 306 yards and 100 grams, so that's more of a...
Almost sport.
Sport, yeah.
Yeah. So
maybe a DK or worsted.
Yeah.
Just because it takes so long.
Or even an Aran.
Yeah. But something thicker than
Something thicker than this, because this is... So this was... I was in a show this year. I did the Mikado, but it was in Scotland, so it wasn't,
as horribly racist.
Yeah. So it was the same show, but without the...
For those of you that know Gilbert and
Sullivan. Without the problematic...
Asian...
overtones.
Yeah.
And so this was my thing. I would knit on this during rehearsal. I've got lots of...
It's fun to see, like, how did that happen? Like...
Right.
You've got this same mistake several times, and it's kind of like, what...
Yeah.
What is it about it that you like to do that?
Yeah, I have no idea. So anyway, I worked on this basically during rehearsal and during shows when I was not, because I was in the chorus, so I wasn't on stage all the time. So, but yeah, it was meant to be. I was going to try to get it done when we could visit them in Omaha, and then it became a Christmas present, and now it's going to be hopefully I think it'll be done in January.
Yeah,
I feel like this is
because they're moving to Seattle, but not until
April. So yeah.
Okay.
And he's oh my god, he's so cute. And he's a little tiny baby. And
I don't care for children or babies. I'm being funny, but like I'm not choosing. John and I are not choosing to have children. But every baby I see, I feel like, oh my god, it's the cutest baby. But Callum is the cutest.
Callum is super cute.
Santiago, my nephew, was the cutest baby too.
Yeah.
Like,
it's just which this most.
And there
recent...
are ugly babies, but nobody would say that, right?
Yeah. No. But yeah, and then the other thing that's cool about it is it has this I-cord bind off on the edge, which is really,
very
I think,
cool.
Very nice detail, electric texture. So I again, this has been
labor of love.
Labor of love. Again, it's a very easy pattern, as you can imagine.
You'll get this done today if we sit down and knit for a while. We got a lot of stuff we want to do today. But...
Yeah, but this is something I can get done. And especially because you're decreasing, every row takes less time. So...
Yeah, that's true. Well, except for the first half, where it takes longer.
Well, that's... Yeah, when the first half took a long time, and then it has sort of... But yeah, I mean, it's going to be a huge blanket, and then when you block it, you don't aggressively block it, you sort of like make it a little more square.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
and we've got blocking mats and pins.
Yeah.
So that'll be easy.
So the instructions say to steam block it and not really, because I think it would get enormous if you just regular blocked it.
Well, the other thing, is this 100% acrylic?
It is.
The other thing, too, is that you don't really need to block it.
What is this?
You can wash it in draft.
That's true. I forget. This is...
Something's going on. Something's happening.
This is 60% acrylic, and this is...
Well, what else is it?
I don't know.
Well, 60% acrylic, 40% nylon. So it's 100% plastic. So
right.
You don't
and
have
I
to worry
think
about
this
blocking.
this is superwash merino.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Huh, that's interesting.
Yeah. So I'm gonna worry.
I mean, you can machine wash it, it says. So.
Yeah, which is good because it's a baby blanket.
Right.
So anyway, and I think
I'll just do mine in 100% acrylic.
Yeah.
When I do it for Tatiana.
And you could even you could do something where you vary this color.
If I haven't explained who Tatiana is, my sister-in-law is pregnant, and she's due
late February.
No, not even. She's due in 4 weeks.
Wow.
And my nephew was born very premature, and it was very scary. He's wonderful now, but he was born as early as you can be,
right?
And still be okay. And Tatiana is now past that, so
yeah.
I mean, at any point she could have the baby at any point, and Tatiana would be okay.
Yeah.
The goal they're trying to get to is, I forget how many weeks it is, but it's so that if she hits that many weeks, there's no need to be in the NICU.
Right. Right.
So
anyway, baby blankets.
But yeah, that's I love I wonder if you'd get the same drapiness and the same feel with it being DK. I guess we'll find out because I want to do it.
I would imagine as long as you didn't use a really rigid yarn.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it would be acrylic. It would be baby blanket acrylic yarn that I'm going to use, which is going to be super soft.
Yeah. But I'm saying you could do something where you switch out the colors, where the ridge changes colors. You could almost do
like a
rainbow.
Like a rainbow or an ombre.
Yeah. That could be cool.
Yeah. I think what I'm going to do is see, because I feel like we have not a lot, but we have some baby blanket yarn already.
Yeah.
And I'm going to see what I've got.
Yeah, and we can combine, because you could, this is a very adaptable pattern.
Yeah.
For size and yarn. So anyway.
Who was the designer? Oh, Jake Kenyon. We already talked about that.
Yeah.
Jake Kenyon.
Who is Venus and Crab, or Crab and Venus.
I can't believe you just did that.
What?
It doesn't matter.
Venus and Crab.
Venus and Crab.
What do you mean I just did that?
Well, because I'm so guilty of messing up these are people's brands, and I'm really guilty of messing up their brand, which is not good for them.
Yeah.
And so
Jake Kenyon,
you're
Venus and
good.
Crab.
I forgive you.
Jake Kenyon,
and I'm sure Jake
Venus and Crab.
I'm sure
Jake Kenyon, Venus and Crab.
I'm sure Jake. Let the AI overlords pick that up, and
what I really want to call it is Jake Kenyon, Orcs and Craig. I don't know why, but that's
a deep reference.
That is a deep.
Not really a deep reference.
It's a reference.
It's an obscure reference. Okay, then now I get to do my last one, which is not interesting.
Is it?
But I'm going to do it anyway.
I forgot. Oh, your Sakis.
Well, I can't find it right now, but it's a sock.
Right.
And it's shorty socks. They're for me, and it's a Zauber ball. And somebody corrected me. Thank you for doing that. Somebody corrected me in the last comments of the last episode and said that Zauber doesn't mean, I think I said it meant crazy, and it means magical or something.
Okay.
Hang on, I want to actually look that up. We took a quick break, and I can't remember why.
I got some white zen. You wanted to look something up. Someone corrected you.
Oh, no. I wanted to look and see my last... Oh, the Zauber thing.
Right.
That's what it was. Sorry, if you can't tell, it's probably an instantaneous cut for those of you watching, but for me it was several minutes. Jolene, W7761, in our comments on our last episode, corrected me that Zauber means magic in German, not crazy.
Right.
So thank you for that. Also, I love the comments. Like, I just read through again all of our comments from our last episode. I wish I could have an individual conversation with every one of these people. We have the greatest comments ever. And one time, I remember, I'm embarrassed to even bring this up, but I think one time we did an entire episode where all we did was respond to comments.
Yes.
And I know that's not what you guys are here for. But
we've done sections. We can do that.
I know, but it's just
fun.
I just see all these amazing comments, and it's just, you don't have time to respond to all of them.
Right.
There's a couple things though that I wanted to pull out from last time. One is, did you see that Colorado Knits? Who I don't know if that's Colorado Knits as in, is that a dyer? Oh, it's a podcaster.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I'm gonna have to check you out, Colorado Knits, Carrie. But she said that your t-shirt, your Ferrero...
Oh, Mondel
Ferraro t-shirt for the win. And then, so Cassie DA17 commented, I'm surprised Lion Brand mixed a superwash merino and an acrylic yarn in the kit. But the striped blanket is going to be really cute. Yeah, we just ended up commenting on that a second ago. But I guess it'll work.
Yeah.
Okay, so now...
I've got some acquisitions.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry.
And I want to talk about one more thing.
Okay.
So, here are my acquisitions for my birthday, which just came in November. Someone got me a subscription to, who is this again?
Nancy Trilogy Yarns.
Yeah. And so she's doing a series of colorways.
I wish we hung out with Nancy, but she lives too far away.
Based on Broadway musicals. So when they come, they have a little playbill thing in them and some fun swag. And so this is...
Are those needle tips things?
Yeah.
Okay, here, let's just keep going. Sorry.
Yeah. So they are colorways that are based on Broadway musicals. And Scott got me a 3-month subscription? 6 months?
It's...
Year?
It's not ending.
Oh, never ending. Never ending.
It's when it's so I've done this with Betty Ann 2 or 3 times now, where it's like we'll just keep it going until you're like, you know what, Scott, I don't need it anymore.
Sorry.
Which Nancy's gonna say don't ever end.
Yeah. And so these are both her MCN DK, which is merino cashmere nylon, which is great for socks. And this is Elf.
Wait.
Merino cashmere nylon.
But it would have to be DK socks.
Yeah.
Okay.
I like DK socks.
Well, I've never done them, so...
I've done it many times.
No, you have not.
I've done it twice.
Well, there you go.
2 more times than you.
You've done it 200% more times than me.
Exactly.
It's not how that works.
So, this is based on Elf, the musical.
Trilogy. I think I just said Trinity. I hope I didn't say Trinity. Trilogy Yarns, Nancy. We love Nancy.
And this is...
Nancy, I'm obsessed with you. If I've said Trinity, please forgive me.
And this is Beetlejuice.
I didn't know there was an Elf musical.
Yeah.
And I know this is sacrilegious, but I don't really like the Elf movie. With the giant... With Will Ferrell, the elf, and all that.
I saw it when it came out. I like it. So we'll just
it's the spaghetti thing, right?
Sure.
His favorite food is spaghetti with frosting on it, or something.
So we went on a Christmas cruise last year, and they had a movie night, and they showed Elf, and we're like, you know what? I think we'd just rather just drink.
We left and drank, didn't we?
Yes, we did.
That's funny.
Which is fine. Anyway, so here are the colorways. They're really pretty. I love her dyeing. It's really, really pretty, and here they are.
So I'm going to do a quick close-up. So this is Elf from December. It's her MCNDK. You smell like White Zinfandel.
That's not surprising.
And then some Eucalyptus in there. And this is the playbill that it came with. And then this is Beetlejuice. And then this is the I think they're needle tips.
Yep.
It must be, yeah. That came. So, yeah. So it's a little bit selfish, too, because I'm sure at some point I'll use some of this yarn. But
again,
I thought it'd be fun to just...
Me yarn is your yarn.
Yeah.
Before we get into our movie review, the last yarn related thing I want to talk about is we were hanging out knitting yesterday, and Gudrun Johnston.
Gudrun
Johnston has started a podcast.
Yes, we watched the first episode.
And she is a pattern designer who is from the Shetland Islands, was born there, and she loves Shetland-related stuff. And her podcast, it's one in, and I was watching her podcast.
One in.
It's her first one.
Oh, I thought you meant like one letter in, and I was like, where? One letter in Shetland? Go ahead.
Her podcast, she's done one.
Okay, thank you.
And basically she was showing some patterns, and I want to knit all of them.
Oh, I know.
So
that cardigan, that oversized cardigan, especially.
I just liked she has this hat pattern, which is done in garter stitch, but you do it. The shaping, you do like 4 panels of garter stitch, and then you do short row shaping, and then you sew it together with a 3-needle bind off, and it's gorgeous.
Yeah.
And she had mittens, not surprising, that looked amazing.
Mitts, fingerless mitts. And she had said that she'd knit many, but she'd never designed any.
Yeah.
And she did that with a collaborator for a retreat or something.
Yeah.
Or I think it was for a retreat.
Yeah, so I'm really... Number one, she's delightful.
Yeah.
And she's got she's Scottish, so her accent makes me really happy. So anyway, we saw her at Vogue Midwest a couple of years ago, and she was lovely. And it's interesting she's talking about, she's done a lot of Instagram content and stuff like that, and she just wanted to do more long-form content to highlight
take these off.
A little bit more what she does.
Yeah.
And again, so check it out.
Cool.
I'm sure she, just because of her name and her whatever, I'm sure she's going to do really well with it.
Yeah.
So that's it for knitting content.
All right. And now we're going to transition seamlessly to movie reviews.
Star Wipe.
And so, as usual, we're going to start with the best picture of the year and finish with the worst picture of the year. Yep. We are in the process of doing a movie review for every best picture for each year, as indicated by winning the best picture in the Academy Awards, and the worst picture according to the Golden Raspberries, or the Razzies.
Right, which means that we're limited to basically 1980, when the Golden Razzies started, to present day.
Correct. And we've done many.
Yes.
We're skipping around. We're kind of doing a random number thing. Mm-hmm. And so this year we did the movies of 1983, awards in 1984.
Yep. And
so I'm going to start with Terms of Endearment.
Which we watched yesterday.
So we have a set list of things that we go through that help structure the discussion.
Right.
So brief plot. On IMDb, the IMDb catchphrase or whatever is follows hard to please Aurora looking for love and her daughter's family problems. So pulling from Wikipedia, Aurora Greenway, who's played by Shirley MacLaine, is a widow, and she lives in Houston, and it's the movie is a lot about the relationship with her daughter Emma. Emma ends up marrying Flap Horton over her mother's objection. They fight a lot, but they love each other. They then move to Iowa. Emma and Flap move to Iowa so that he can pursue his career as an English professor. They end up having 3 children, but then their marriage kind of starts to fray. Emma ends up having an affair with a banker who she meets, and partially because she's worried that her husband's having an affair. And then, do you want to say something?
Which it turns out he is.
Do we know that he is?
Yeah. She doesn't know that he is, but she suspects.
But are they actually having an affair?
Yeah, with the grad student.
Because he said, you caught me before I did anything.
That was a lie.
Okay, all right. Okay.
Remember that whole scene where she's like, Flap, you need to tell me what's going on. And if you're lying, you are sacrificing your integrity
Oh, and then her mom calls on the phone and they get interrupted.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So
then meanwhile, the mom, Aurora, ends up having a romance with her next door neighbor, who's an astronaut, Garrett Breedlove, who is played by Jack Nicholson. And he's a little rough around the edges, which drives Aurora crazy. And then Garrett breaks off the relationship with Aurora because he doesn't like commitment. Flap. So then Emma catches Flap, basically having a lovey-dovey conversation with the grad student with whom he's having an affair when she goes to find him on campus. And so then she goes back to home, takes the kids and goes back home to Texas. While she's there, Flap, the husband, decides to take a job in Nebraska. And so then when she goes back to Des Moines, they then end up moving to Nebraska. But then Emma finds out that the reason that he took the job in Nebraska was to be with his grad student girlfriend. Right about that time, Emma's diagnosed with terminal cancer. And then Aurora and the husband and the best friend and everybody goes to Lincoln, Nebraska, where Emma's being treated, to basically take care of her and support her. And then the wife, with the husband's consent, ends up giving the children to her mother to take care of. And then that's it.
Yeah.
So
who you mentioned that Jack Nicholson and Aurora are, and Shirley MacLaine are Aurora and
I'm going to get
Garrett.
to the cast.
Okay.
Yeah, that's one of our questions.
Okay. Gotcha.
It just made sense as we were discussing it in the moment.
I don't mean to help.
Honey, if you
I mean to be helpful but not useful.
If you didn't help, then we would be left with my ramblings.
Yes.
Which would be
fun.
No good anyway. So it was released on December 9th, 1983.
Okay.
Which, are the Academy Awards like from January 1st to December 31st? Okay.
And that's why you have that dump of releases in December.
Okay.
So Academy voters have them fresh in their mind.
Gotcha. So the director was James L. Brooks, which I might have heard that name before, but it's a pretty common name. So one of the things we like to talk about is what did the director do right before and right after? Well, this guy, his stories, what he's done is pretty amazing. So right before this, he was the creator and writer of the TV show Taxi. And right after this, he was the director for Broadcast News, which also was a Best Picture nominee.
Yeah.
However, he's the co-creator of The Simpsons. He created The Mary Tyler Moore Show. He created Rhoda. He was the screenplay writer for As Good as It Gets. And that's some of the stuff that I knew that I pulled out.
Oh my God. So when you said Taxi, I was like, not Taxi Driver, which is the Robert De Niro show. You're looking at me. No, Taxi with
where they all sit in the
Judd Hirsch
taxi
and
stand.
Okay.
And, yeah.
I was like, wow, that's really different from Taxi Driver. Okay, sorry, go on.
TV show.
Okay.
So the cast, the stars in the show, or the cast, whatever. So the mother, the matriarch was Shirley MacLaine as Aurora. Deborah Winger was Emma, the daughter, and the two of them did not seem to get along, according to the rumors.
They are both very. I could see that.
Well, and I also read that the whole time they were making the movie, Deborah Winger was fighting a cocaine addiction.
Oh no.
Jack Nicholson is Garrett, the next door neighbor. So then, I didn't bring this up in the plot summary, but Shirley MacLaine has all these men, these suitors floating around her, a la Scarlett O'Hara in Gone with the Wind, and it's Danny DeVito, and then other actors who I don't think we know.
Yeah.
But Danny DeVito is one of them. So Jeff Daniels is Deborah Winger's husband. Flap. John Lithgow is Sam, the banker who Deborah Winger's character is having an affair with. The budget it made $108 million on an $8 million budget.
Right.
I've seen many other numbers because the budget was not published; it was estimated. So I've seen $160 million on a $6 million budget. But point being, it made $100+ million above the budget.
Right.
Other nominees for Best Picture in the 1984 awards were The Big Chill, which Mom and I were talking about. Betty Ann and I were talking about this over Christmas. I think The Big Chill was a movie that I'm the only reason I'm bringing this up is for Betty Ann, because knowing she's watching this episode. But she and I were talking about a soundtrack.
Oh yeah.
That had a bunch of Motown stuff.
Oh yeah,
on
no.
it.
The Big Chill soundtrack was basically made for Betty Ann.
Yeah. So when I was growing up, we were always an early adopter of technology. Mom bought a CD player before you could just have. You had to buy I forget what it's called, but like another piece of equipment that you could hook the speakers to.
Sure.
Like you couldn't just buy a CD player that played music. You had to buy other equipment. But anyway, The Big Chill, I asked Mom what the name of the soundtrack was, and I don't think she said The Big Chill, but maybe she did. Anyway, The Dresser.
Okay.
Do you know anything about that?
Yes, it's a movie with, I think, Laurence Olivier. I can't remember. It's based on a two-man play, and it's about this guy who is an actor, like this old-time sort of theatrical actor, and his relationship with the guy who is his dresser.
Oh, okay. The Right Stuff. Mm-hmm. Is that the astronaut one?
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, these are both astronaut movies in Texas.
That's weird.
Yeah.
And then Tender Mercies.
That's a movie with Robert Duvall. And
how do you know all this stuff?
I watched a lot of Siskel and Ebert in '83.
With your mom?
We used to watch app movies all the time.
Oh, interesting.
And so Tender Mercies is Robert Duvall, and it's like he's a country singer. I can't remember, but I've never seen. So I've seen The Big Chill. I've seen The Dresser, but I don't remember it because like
is The Big Chill the one where they all come back because one of their friends died?
Yeah, it's Kevin Kline, Glenn Close, William Hurt.
And their friend from high school died. Or
yeah,
whatever.
Kevin Costner, who's not in the movie, dies.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
He only got the corpse credit.
That's right. Okay, some of the interesting trivia. I already brought this up. Deborah Winger behaved erratically on the set because she was fighting a severe cocaine addiction. And she and Shirley MacLaine. So everything that I've read said that they, who knows about in the moment, but since that time they have a lot of respect for each other.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And they argued a lot, but it was almost like they were pushing each other's buttons to get a rise out of each other, to get a good movie.
Yeah.
And to be those characters, always almost a method thing.
Right.
And then also, there were several people several of the actors that talked about how James Brooks put his actors in a stressful environment
to get those performances.
Yeah. Okay, so this, I mean, who knows if this is apocryphal, but it says that James Brooks, this was his debut movie director thing. First movie he directed.
Right.
He received a book of cartoons called Life in Hell from Matt Groening.
Right.
Brooks was so impressed by those cartoons that Groening did that he asked him to create, or encouraged him to create, cartoon shorts for the Tracy Ullman show, which James Brooks created.
Right.
Which then led to The Simpsons.
Yeah,
I looked him up like on one of those, I'm sure it's fake websites, but like what is James Brooks' net worth? And it's like he's basically almost a billionaire because of all that he's done. And there are like 780 episodes of The Simpsons right now or something. Almost 750 episodes. Yeah. Okay, Deborah Winger began... Oh, so Deborah Winger during the... So this was... all the university stuff was filmed at Lincoln... University of Nebraska, Lincoln.
Even the stuff in Des Moines?
I I said all.
Yeah, that would make sense.
And they couldn't do the stuff in Kearney, Nebraska because Kearney, Nebraska's campus was significantly under construction at the time.
Gotcha.
But they said that while they were shooting in Nebraska, Deborah Winger started dating the governor of Nebraska. And then when reporters asked him about that, he said, well, she swept me off my foot. And it was because he had an amputated leg due to injuries he sustained in Vietnam. So
that's pretty awesome.
And you knew more about this, and you should talk about this, but there was a sequel to this movie, which I didn't know, which was a huge flop.
Yeah.
And before you talk about your part, Shirley MacLaine and reprised her role, and Jack Nicholson had a cameo. Yeah. But go ahead. It was about the kids, I guess.
Right. So there's a sequel that's called The Evening Star. So this book is based on a series. This movie is based on a series of novels by Larry McMurtry, right? Who wrote Lonesome Dove. And he writes this whole series of books about these people who live in Texas and who all went to Rice University, which is where I went. So Flap and Emma both go to Rice. And River Oaks is...
Oh, Flap and Emma...
both went to Rice in the books.
Is that where they met?
Yes.
Okay.
So...
because I don't remember how they met. They didn't really explain how they met.
They don't. In the other books, they talk about it. So, like, there's a book about one of their, like, friends, and it takes place when they're in school and stuff like that. So, it's funny because, Aurora, Shirley MacLaine, lives in the River Oaks neighborhood, which is right north of Rice, and I used to bike through that because I lived in the not nice neighborhood on the other side of River Oaks, and I would bike through River Oaks. And so I'm pretty sure that the house that they filmed that, I used to bike by that all the time.
Yeah, I mean the house was in the River Oaks neighborhood. They give the address.
Yeah,
in Wikipedia, I think.
So that makes it very fun. And then they did a sequel, which is about Emma's children and Shirley MacLaine Aurora raising them. And they filmed some scenes at Rice while I was there. And they did a big casting call, like, if you want to be in this movie, do it. And I'm like, whatever. Yeah. And it was just funny because I have a copy of that movie somewhere I think in VHS. And it's just fun to watch it because, like, in the Rice scenes, I know half the people. They film one of the classes is at Chemlec. Films at the what we called Chemlec, which was the big lecture hall. And it's funny, we watched it, and it's funny because, like, the character is, who's the girl from Cape Fear?
You know how I am with names.
She's in...
Do you want me to look it up? Oh, Juliette Lewis.
Juliette Lewis,
yeah.
So Juliette Lewis' character is the daughter from this movie, and she's at Rice, and she's taking, like, romantic poetry, and they film the scene where she's taking romantic poetry, and they're filming it in Chemlec. And we're like, no English class at Rice would be in Chemlec. And the other thing which is really funny is she gets an F on a paper. And I went to Rice.
And you were an English major.
I was an English major. To get an F on an English paper, you would have to basically write, like,
F you
to the paper and turn it in. Otherwise, you get a C.
Right.
So that was fun. I'm trying to think what else. But yeah, so that's kind of my relationship. I've read a lot of those books. Okay. It's just kind of fun. And I just think I think the thing which is amazing about this movie is, like, the plot is just kind of like 20 years of their lives, right? But, like, it's all about the performances, and everyone is so good.
When it's so one of the things in our questions is your personal history with the film. So I've never seen it. In my head, Terms of Endearment and Postcards from the Edge are the same movie.
Yes.
And I think Postcards from the Edge is doesn't Shirley MacLaine kind of go crazy or something?
No, that's the one that's based on Carrie Fisher's life, and Shirley MacLaine plays the Debbie Reynolds character. And Meryl Streep is the daughter who has a drug issue. But And yeah, so it's also a mother-daughter movie with Shirley MacLaine playing the...
But isn't she crazy in that movie? Or is she Debbie Reynolds crazy?
She's Debbie Reynolds crazy.
So, in my head, and I will be transparent. 2-hour deep dives into the intricacies of a relationship between a mother and daughter, not necessarily something that grabs my attention. If it was set in outer space, yes, maybe. Or if it was like where they murdered each other because they were possessed by the devil or something, like, again, that might be more. But just what's it like in the 80s, a mom and a daughter and their lives. I was just kind of like going into this, I'm like, but this is why we do this movie review.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I would have never watched this movie. Yeah. Even if you were like, Scott, let's watch Terms of Endearment, I would have been like, nope. Let's watch Star Trek. I'd rather watch Star Trek. So, I we got to the end of it, and I was like, because we got to like a third of the way through it, and I'm like, so when does this get to be Best Picture of the Year quality? Because like, I knew all these actors and actresses. Right. They're all really good. I knew they were all really good. I expected them to all be really good. But by the end of the movie, I'm like, there is like no interesting plot in this movie, but I could watch these people act forever.
Yeah.
Like just their acting ability and just, I think the charm that each of these actors have, just as people, charm is maybe not the right word, but like the draw.
Well, I feel like it's one of those movies where you watch it and you don't even think they're acting.
Yeah.
Like, the performances are so... Like, even Jack Nicholson, who is always Jack Nicholson.
Yeah.
And we're talking about this. Like, this is 2 years after The Shining.
Yeah.
And he's Jack Nicholson, and he always plays some sort of version of Jack Nicholson. But it's a really nuanced performance. And it's a joy. It's a joy to watch these actors do these roles.
Yeah, I will say, speaking of Jack Nicholson, yes, Jack Nicholson is always Jack Nicholson, but he plays different. Like the Joker that he plays, is not the same
as Jack Torrance. Is not the same as this,
but
but there's a core something that stays consistent.
Right, but in this movie, it's almost like a washed up astronaut. There's something sad about the character.
Yeah, absolutely.
Especially because of his inability to, like, his fear of commitment.
Right.
But what's interesting, and I'm just making this connection now, is that the character that he plays in As Good As It Gets could be the exact same character as this.
Yeah.
And they're both directed by James Brooks.
The difference is I hate As Good As It Gets.
I've seen that movie probably 8 times. It's one of my favorite movies.
That movie makes me so angry on so many levels.
Anyway, this is not about As Good As It Gets. Okay.
Which did not win Best Picture, so we never talk about it ever again.
Yes, that's true. I understand why it got Best Movie.
Yeah.
I think people talk about how the Academy Awards have changed over the years, and I think about a movie like this wouldn't even get nominated in 2024 for Best Picture. There's no... The things that are valued about movies today are... I don't...
Well, I think the difference is the performances, with the exception of Give My Daughter Her Pain Shot, which was Shirley MacLaine's Oscar reel, they're not showy performances.
Yeah.
I think what was really telling about it, and I think why it's a good movie, is like it just rings really true. Like Aurora would do something and like, oh, that's Michelle, my mom.
Oh yeah.
And then be like, oh, that's Betty Ann.
The one with all the suitors. That's definitely Betty Ann.
Okay, let's talk about it really quickly. So, all right, in the movie, Aurora, Shirley MacLaine, has like these suitors who are kind of always buzzing around her, right?
Yeah.
And we were always talking about like how do these characters, like, they just remind you of your own family and the relationships. Yeah. Betty Ann, like, same thing. Always has a circle of admirers, gentlemen callers, as you will, buzzing around her. It's not that she's like... She's always been very, into relationships. But there's always these men.
She's always been very relationship oriented, I think is what you mean to say.
But there's always like all these men's buzzing around her.
It's true. That's true.
She goes to Cheehaw, and it's like the 12 Oaks barbecue without the problematic slavery.
Yes.
She goes to the Piggly Wiggly, and some person who she met once goes up and says, "I've always been in love with you."
Right.
It just happens, and it's I guess her modeling school experience, or her raw animal magnetism.
That's what it is. I think I inherited that from her.
Yeah, I know. I clearly
because the time I spent in modeling school as a 5'7.5" foot tall. Stocky. I didn't used to be stocky, but
used to be lithe. Yes. Anyway, so it was very funny because you would just see your family in that. So like the scenes.
I mean, I can't even count on 2 hands and 2 feet the number of daddies I had growing up.
Your uncles.
My uncles, my mom's special friends.
Right. And, it's not that she's, she's always been very...
New daddies is what I meant to say. Not daddies in a gay way. The stepdaddies.
Stepdaddies. Anyway. The point is, Aurora reminds us of people we know, and especially with the orbit of men who are... She's not in a relationship...
Aurora Greenway... I mean, if you're trying to come up with a caricature or an archetype of the female in the South, Aurora Greenway, Scarlett O'Hara, Betty Ann.
Yeah, no, it's a straight line through.
Yeah. All of these women are abusive to their suitors.
Well,
stringing them
on, being like, "Oh, take me on a trip, and maybe I'll let you give me a kiss."
Right. On my hand.
Or
my cheek.
Right. Buy me dinner at a nice restaurant, and maybe we'll hang out and watch a movie.
Right.
So...
That is Betty Ann up one side.
Oh my God. But anyway, we digress.
Yeah, so just to wrap up this movie...
Oh, so I want to say one more thing.
Oh, yeah.
Talk about your experience seeing this movie. So... I'm pretty sure I saw this movie on VHS in 1984, right?
Okay.
So, what's funny is I watched it when I was, her children's age.
Yeah.
And now I'm watching it now I'm Aurora's age, more or less. I mean, not quite, but, she's...
Maybe Aurora at the beginning of the movie.
Yes, yeah. So, that's kind of funny. But yeah, it's, funny. I've seen it, I think, twice. Because it's not a movie you revisit because the ending is so tough.
What's your favorite scene in the movie? I think my favorite scene is when Jack Nicholson finally gets to take her to Aurora.
Oh yeah, they're driving to Galveston. He's drunk.
Well, no, when they're sitting down to dinner, and he offers her an oyster, and she's like, "Who do you think you are?" and blah blah blah. And so then he's like, "We're gonna have to get drunk," and then they proceed to get drunk.
Yeah,
she asks for bourbon.
Yeah, some bourbon, wild turkey,
if you have it.
I like all the scenes with her and Jack Nicholson. They're just fantastic.
She talks about the fact that the two of them just have this natural chemistry that you can't create. And she said, "We don't hang out outside of movies."
Yeah.
She's like, "We just walk onto set and we have this relationship."
I'm sure.
She's like, "We don't see each other outside of making movies." So, to wrap this up, and did it deserve the award it received? We already talked about that.
I think it deserved both Best Picture and Shirley MacLaine Best Actress.
I didn't write down all the different awards that it won and was nominated for.
And Jack Nicholson won Best Supporting Actor.
Oh, speaking of which, Shirley MacLaine won Best Actress. Mm-hmm. Deborah Winger was also up for Best Actress in this movie.
Yeah.
Did not win because Shirley MacLaine won. As I was reading an interview about that, and it said something along the lines of Deborah Winger. I don't know how the Academy Awards work, but Deborah Winger put herself.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
So, you see a lot of shenanigans with the Academy Awards. So, an example of this is Chicago, right? where you have Renee Zellweger and Catherine Zeta-Jones both in lead performances, and Catherine Zeta-Jones is nominated for Best Supporting. And it's kind of up to the actor in the studio, right? How you do it. So, like, one of the other examples is All About Eve, where Anne Baxter and Betty Davis both nominated as a lead role, and that split the vote. You don't, because Academy Awards will split their votes on a movie, and so it would have been
meaning it could end up going to a third person
exactly
who's less deserving.
Right. So, like, that's a big thing, especially when we have two leads in a movie. You tend to split the thing. But I think Deborah Winger quite right. It's like I'm not a supporting actress, so.
Well, I think what I read, there was criticism of her for doing that because this was like her first big role.
No, she's Officer and Gentleman, and
that's not right. What did they say? There was something about. I guess not her first role. I shouldn't have said that. She's younger and less experienced than Shirley MacLaine.
Yeah, but I think putting her up for not Best Actress would be an insult to that thing.
Okay. I did also read that, again, maybe apocryphal, that Shirley MacLaine, on her way up to the stage, leaned over to Deborah Winger and said, "Half of this is yours."
Yeah,
which I think is pretty cool.
So the other thing is that I think Shirley MacLaine, I feel like, I think her best performance is The Apartment, which she got nominated to get. So, like, people all say, like, this is one of those roles where she deserved it, but she also got it for a body of work.
Oh, sure. Okay.
So, yeah. No, I think she deserved it. I think it's just a good movie.
It is. I was surprised. Again, this is why I'm glad we do this, because... Yeah. And why I'm glad I'm in book clubs. Yeah. We're in 2 book clubs, because I read stuff I would never read otherwise. Okay. Let us now switch to the worst movie of 1983.
I'm going to get some more White Zin before we talk about this. So, let's talk about the worst movie of 1983. Pia Zadora and The Lonely Lady. A movie so good, it's not on streaming.
And full transparency on this one. So, Terms of Endearment we watched yesterday. Yeah. Lonely Lady we watched in October. Yeah. Like the day after we recorded our last episode. So I have memories of this movie, but a lot of it I don't remember.
So if anyone wants this movie, the first person in the comments to ask, we will send it to you.
Yeah, because that'll be interesting, is because that'll tell us who actually watches the movie part.
Right. So, The Lonely Lady.
Oh, but if whoever says it in the comments first, we'll mail you your own personal copy
of the Blu-ray. Which, by the way, has a really fabulous interview with Pia Zadora.
Oh, yeah, it does. It has some fun special
features. We'll talk a little background here. So, it's a 1983 movie. It's based on a book by Harold Robbins, who I don't know. But apparently it's based on his memory of Jacqueline Suzanne, who wrote Valley of the Dolls, Time in Hollywood.
Oh my God.
Which, if that's true, I'm sorry, Jacqueline, I know you're dead, but, like, Jesus.
Yeah.
Before we get further in here, I know people like get trigger warnings sometimes when you're talking about a movie. If you're triggered by anything...
Literally anything,
it's in this movie. So just... If anything triggers you, you should probably skip over this next part, because, good Lord.
Yeah.
So it stars Pia Zadora in the title role, a couple of people I've never heard of, but Ray Liotta in his film debut. This movie is infamous. For many reasons, it'll become clear. It's probably the only movie that I know where I've seen a sexual assault with a garden hose.
Oh God, I forgot about that.
So Ray Liotta sexually assaults Pia Zadora's with the garden hose, and at some point someone throws that back at her face.
Yeah.
It's
as though it was her fault.
Like, oh, you don't like having sex with me because the garden hose, like, ruined you. It's
problematic.
Not a good movie, problematic.
Okay, so do you want to do, like, the organized questions?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, critically panned. This movie is a box office bomb. grossing only $1.2 million against a budget of $6 to $7 million. However, almost all the budget for this movie was supplied by Pia Zadora's husband.
Oh God, I didn't know that.
Pia Zadora started out her career. She's a singer, right? That's what she's good at. She's a really good singer. She will admit.
What was her? I don't remember. What was her? Was she a pop singer?
No, she's like a loungy singer, some pop stuff. But she's like touring with Frank Sinatra at the time. And she met her husband, who is an Israeli multi-billionaire industrialist named Meshulam Riklis.
He was a what?
Multi-millionaire Israeli industrialist.
Okay.
And so he met her while she was a singer, and he's like, I want you to be an actress. And so he funded her movies.
Okay.
And filmed her
that makes more sense.
82 film called Butterfly, which she won the Golden Globe for Best Newcomer, which is largely thought to be because he paid off people. So, and he paid for this movie. So they had optioned this movie, so the book came out in the 70s, and it had sort of been in development hell for a little while. And then he's like, hey guys, I will finance this movie and the distribution, but my wife, Pia Zadora, needs to be the lead. So that's how this movie got made. Apparently, they switched directors at one point, and the guy who directed it was Peter Sasty. And apparently Pia Zadora described him as being asleep the whole time, and it shows.
Is it the director?
As the director, yeah. And Pia Zadora won the Razzie for Butterfly in 82, and The Lonely Lady in 83.
Well, let's start with the plot summary.
Okay. It's just the plot summary is Pia Zadora is playing Jerry Lee, whatever. And she's this young impressionable girl who wants to be a screenwriter. And she goes on some dates with some guy, and she's out like with some people. She won this big award for screenwriting, and it was presented by her idol, who was this
female screenwriter, right?
Male screenwriter.
Oh, that's right.
And she eventually ends up marrying the older male screenwriter, but he starts to resent her ability to write movies because she's a better writer than him, apparently. And they get divorced, she has affairs, she works at a nightclub, she does drugs, she's coerced into lesbian relationships to produce her screenplays, she has a meltdown. It's like one of those movies you watch and like, sexy question mark? Right? Because you're just like, is this supposed to be like, because it's like filmed as like here's the cover, right? It's like, sexy, and you're just like, ooh, this isn't sexy. This is kind of like sad and gross. And then so finally, but she like uses all this experience to write a screenplay, and she wins the Academy Award for Best Picture, and she goes up and accepts her award, and she's like, "F*** you all. This town doesn't respect women. I had to my way to this Oscar." She has like where she's recognized, but she like throws it in their face, and she gains her independence. Apparently, in the book, what happens in the book is she wins the Academy Award, and then takes off her dress on the stage, and has an Oscar statue tattooed on her, with the face going down to her hoo-ha.
What do you mean the face going down?
It's upside down, so here's Oscar, and the face is down in her lady bits.
But that didn't happen in real life.
Or in the movie.
And it's supposed to be based on...
Yeah, I don't think Jacqueline Suzanne actually did that. I think he's using creative license, right? Anyway, so yeah, that's the rise and fall of Jerry Lee. With a mother who's problematic, the first husband's problem. Everyone is problematic in this movie. Everybody. So,
what was the release date?
Don't know.
Did you not follow my template?
I did.
You're supposed to follow my template.
It was released in 1983.
Oh my god.
Let's see. So, a couple of things. Pia Zadora was like, this is her last big role, and after she's like, screw this. This is not for me. She admits, like, I'm not a good actress.
I really love the interview with her.
Her interview is very funny. It's an extra. And she's like, I got the movie done, and I'm like, well, I better start writing my Golden Razzie acceptance speech. And she said, so it was nominated for 11 Golden Raspberry Awards and won 6. Worst Actress, Worst Director, Worst Musical Score, Worst Picture, Worst Screenplay, and Worst Original Song.
What's the original song?
The Way You Do It. I don't know. I don't remember.
Did she sing in the movie?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
And what she said...
I have nightmares about that horrific nightclub that she worked in.
Oh, yeah.
That just was... That lounge... It was so gross.
Yeah. And so what she said is like, well, it would have been a shame to be nominated and not win.
About the Golden Raspberry.
Yes. She was the first actress to win back-to-back Golden Raspberries. She lost to... So, like, this was nominated... The Golden Raspberry will do cumulative awards.
What does that mean?
Like, the best performance of the decade, of the year, or whatever.
Okay.
And she lost it to Madonna.
Oh, for the worst actress of the decade?
Yeah, something like that.
Of the 80s?
Yeah, something like that. Or the... Since... of the... I can't remember. So the entire marketing campaign was done by John Wilson, who founded the Razzies.
Wait, what?
So the guy who was doing the marketing campaign for the movie. For
the movie?
Yeah.
Like, seriously doing the marketing for the movie?
Was the founder of the Razzies. And he argued to have, like, the ridiculous scenes put back in because he wanted them to be used for the Golden Razzies. And then there's a funny story where, so they did a test screening, and like the audience lost their minds. It was so funny, and they tried to re-edit it.
Didn't she talk about it in her interview, like hearing the people? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm jumping ahead. I'm sorry.
Now who's being bad?
I'm sorry. But see, I stopped myself. You keep going.
It's because I'm right. So they
learned from this.
They did a test screening, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, this movie's unintentionally funny." So they cut out all the scenes where the people were laughing, and the movie was 45 minutes long.
Oh no.
And then, so Pia Zadora attended the opening night of the movie in, like, Los Angeles, and the movie, like, people were, like, laughing, making fun of it, and after the showing, she stood in the lobby and signed autographed pictures the whole time. Like, good for her.
Yeah.
Good for her. She's like, she's like, I knew when I was making it was going to be a terrible movie. When it was over, it would be a terrible movie. And what do? You be a good sport and accept it. So
I will say, on the other side of this, especially after watching that interview, I had a lot more respect. Not that I didn't have respect for her before. I didn't know her.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then I'm like, okay, she's actually cool.
She's actually cool. And she's like, yeah, my husband financed 2 movies for me that are widely panned. So what?
Yeah.
Like, and she's very tickled by the cult status of the movie. I mean, I think what I learned from this movie is we have 2 visions of America in the early 80s. Terms of Endearment and The Lonely Lady, and they are nowhere near each other.
That's a good point.
This movie is terrible. Like, it is objectively terrible. It's not even in the so bad it's funny.
Right.
I think if they upped the camp a little bit, it could be like Showgirls territory. But, like, this wasn't a fun movie to watch. It was kind of a... I don't know, fun, but it's not like it's not like a howling good time. It's just kind of like, you're like, jeez.
Well, I think the stuff that would prompt a trigger warning makes it difficult to watch. Because doesn't she get beat up multiple times?
Oh yeah, no, she gets sexually assaulted all over the place. Every relationship in this movie is gross.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, she marries the older husband. She's like 18. She meets him because he's the father of one of her friends.
Oh, that's right. It's really creepy. It's very, I don't want to say predatory, but grooming.
Yeah, it's super gross. And the mother is gross. Yeah, it's just a gross movie.
Yeah.
But it is a cultural touchstone, so whatever.
It is a cultural touchstone.
But yeah, Pia Zadora stopped acting after this, and she's a very good singer, and she's made cameos and stuff. She was in Hairspray.
Oh, okay.
For like 5 minutes, and she's embraced what her reputation for these movies are. She's a Golden Globe and 2 Golden Razzies, and
she has a Golden Globe.
The one that her husband bought for her.
Her husband bought. You said that, yeah. All right, so.
Oh, sorry. One more thing. The other ones that were nominated that year.
Oh yeah.
Hercules, which I think starred the guy from The Incredible Hulk.
But wasn't our last episode we reviewed Hercules?
Yeah.
Okay, but not that Hercules.
Yeah, different Hercules. Jaws 3D.
Okay.
Which I remember the trailer to that in the movie theaters.
Okay.
Stoker Ace, which is a Burt Reynolds, Lonnie Anderson.
Stroker Ace?
Stroker Ace. He's like a race car driver.
Okay.
I think. And then Two of a Kind, which starred Olivia Newton-John and John Travolta.
So,
not good.
Not related to Grease?
Only in the fact that the 2 same people are leads. So I have not seen any other movies. I started Two of a Kind once because when it came out, I really wanted to see it because, I'm like, oh my god, it's, and then I started it. It's on streaming. I got like 15 minutes into it, and I'm like, this is terrible. So, but I would say I'm not going to argue with the Razzies on this one. I feel The Lonely Lady probably
was the
infamously they're talking about the Razzies don't pick the most worst movie of the year. They pick the most infamous movie of the year, I think.
Yeah. Because the worst movie of the year is the one that I made. But it's not an interesting bad.
Yeah, and this is I would say this is an interesting bad.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, so let's now switch to finding out what we're gonna watch next. Okay, 2020. Did we do that already?
Let's see.
We already did.
Okay.
Nomadland and Fantasy Island.
Yes.
Okay. 1988.
Let's see.
We did 89 and 87. Wait, what year did I say?
88.
We did 87 and 89.
Okay.
So we didn't do 80, and it doesn't look like we did 88 yet.
Cool.
So we are going to watch... Ooh, I love this movie.
Okay.
I'm very excited because I love this movie.
Okay.
The best picture is The Last Emperor.
I have never seen this movie.
Are you serious?
No, I've never seen it.
It's like 7 hours long or something. It's one of my... I've watched it probably 10 times. Mm-hmm. I love this movie. Okay.
Okay, cool.
The Last Emperor. So then for 1988 Worst Picture, we are not going to pick the actual winner for, if you look it up for reasons that are understandable. Instead, we're going to do the first runner-up or one of the runner-ups, which is Ishtar.
Which is, I think...
Warren Beatty,
Dustin Hoffman, which is infamously known. I'm surprised Ishtar is not the worst movie of the year, because that is one of the ones you hear about as... What are the other nominees again?
The story revolves around a duo of talentless American songwriters who travel to a booking in Morocco and stumble into a 4-party Cold War standoff.
What are the other nominees?
The other nominees that year for Worst Picture were Jaws the Revenge, Tough Guys Don't Dance, and Who's That Girl?
Okay. Jaws the Revenge is the movie that Michael Caine says, I was in it, it was bad, but I bought a house. One
of the worst actor nominees is, from that year is Bruce the Shark from Jaws the Revenge.
Nice.
So, anyway, thank you everybody for watching, and we will be back again in 2 weeks.
We will be back probably in February.
No, 2 weeks. Okay, bye everybody.
Bye.